Yo, what's up guys? We got a new patch, the 8.7.2. Nothing crazy, but actually a few small things which might end up to being really nice. So first of all, we're gonna have all of the new or all of the old Demon Slayer collab units in their own version. Most of the time I do feel like that the Summoners War original versions look better than the Demon Slayer versions. Here I would say for some yes, for some not really, but we'll look into the skills in just a second after this as well. Because this is just something like you can check by yourself as well, but I'll check that in the end regardless. So first of all, we have the Rune Advanced Setting improvement, where you can exclude runes or exclude units, and I think that's very important. Let's right away just check into that, how that would look like, because for example, if I want to rune, well, I have that rig that I pulled on this account, which they actually changed names, we'll get into that in a second. I would like to do this rune optimization with the advanced rune settings. But I would like to exclude my PvE units. So that would be, let's say, my Bale. I would like to exclude my Luna. And I would like to exclude my Tesher. Where the hell the Tesher is? Tesher is over here. So it's not using any of those. You can still include those kind of things. That's nice. And from here, you can still select your rage set. And then we could go attack, crit damage, and attack. And then, of course, we have to put in some thresholds. Let's say 200 base in here, 100 base in there, and then go whatever. I don't have that many runes, so it shouldn't be that much of an issue to get any bolt based on this, I would say. Hopefully. I'm never too sure about this thing in the first place, but in honesty, mostly it's not that bad. Okay, it's kind of bad. I'm not sure if it's just simply not possible, but let's just give this a try. Most of the time, if you want to run it good, you should also put a max threshold. That makes it a lot easier for this thing to search things and blah, blah, blah. But by that point, you're pretty much already kind of exactly filling in what you want to do. But this makes things a lot easier if you do want to do things kind of quick. I actually kind of like this. I think that this is a pretty good update altogether. One thing that I'm still missing with this is that I would like to say it's like, okay, rune score, but I want to base what the rune score is. So I want rune score to be just HP and defense and speed. So therefore the rune score will only pick up HP, speed, and defense. And with that, I can actually select simply here the best combination of the three of them combined. Or I want to check, it's like, okay, I want to switch rune score to just being speed, crit rate, crit damage, and attack. And by that, I have the best combination of those three. Or maybe remove the speed. I just want to have the highest crit rate, crit damage, and attack. And then maybe while crit rate is pretty easy, just set it to 100. So I want to set the rune score to just attack and crit damage. Because right now I could say, for example, like, oh, I want the highest crit damage. But who's going to guarantee me that I don't have a higher crit damage? Like, for example, this is the same crit damage. Let's see if down the line we find one that is maybe on high crit damage. Yeah, over here. Like, who says that this bolt is not better than this bolt? And I think that this one, where was it? Over here, I drop 80, I gain about 6. That's probably still lower. But over here, this is a really good example. So over here, I have to go from here to find this bolt. Might I do the same thing all the way around? Because some people would be like, oh, just do it the other way around and go highest crit damage. But then it's like the question, where is the highest attack combination? Because this is 1700, this is 1500. So that doesn't definitely not mean that this is the second best bolt, because this is probably a higher bolt. And sure, in this case, it's kind of the case, I guess, but I wouldn't be surprised if there's somewhere a bolt that is suddenly like super high in the attack as well. So that is still the thing that is a little bit hard to find. But I do think that this is a really good step in the right direction. Then a few changes to the World Arena. So right now we will actually see the profile of the ranking of your highest ranking, which is pretty nice because most of the time your old highest ranking or your current ranking doesn't say that much about that. However, there's also a lot of accounts that have like a very old high ranking, and then it also doesn't say that much as of currently. So maybe they should change this. Oh, they actually have the previous RTA season. That's good. I was thinking it was the highest for a second, but it is the previous. It's right on the screen. I'm not reading. But yeah, that's actually not that bad. They do also show, if you go into replays, what the leader skill was and what unit was banned. And you can do that as a preview on or off. So if you don't want to get spoiled yourself, it is pretty nice actually itself. However, that's by far not the biggest change. It's actually mentioned in the thumbnail and title already as well. They did remove autoing in RTA. So players who repeatedly take automatic turns due to inactivity will consider having a forfeited match. which does mean the moment that you auto, you will lose. Also, the time limit following an automatic turn does no longer reduce your time itself. So therefore, it does mean that if you get timed out and the skill just went off automatically because you weren't fast enough or you were thinking too long, you don't get punished on the next turn for that as well, which is actually kind of nice. Also, the auto battle button has been disabled, which I do think is very much sense-making in that case. And if opponent is repeatedly disconnecting from the battle, the reconnection time will be shortened. So I might mean that you're more punished that if you disconnect that you get a lose, but I'm not 100% sure about that. But let's see how that looks like in a match. Perks of having 2 accounts. So right here, we right away see the stars and that kind of stuff. I would say that the Guardian stars kind of look weird-ish, but I do like the whole pattern thingy with that stuff around it. So on the main account, I'm going to be picking just normal. On the alt account, I'm just going to let it time out. So let's see what happens. So once again, on main account, okay, they still get the timer down that if you make your mistake during the draft, your timer will still be halved. I think it's only the timer in-game that is no longer half the moment you don't put a skill. But I think your timer being half for timing out in the draft still makes sense because that is something where a lot of strategy comes into play, and there you actually have to be fast, you have to be on point, you have to be thinking quick, and if you make that mistake in thinking quick, getting the extra time otherwise, I think would have been a bad thing for the game altogether. So let's go for the leads and stuff. I also just picked whatever on the main account, so that's definitely not something that I would do. On the main account, I will play properly. On the alt account, I'll just let it time out every time and just see like how many turns it takes. I will count the turns on the alt and see like how long it takes for that. Also, the main is, of course, taking way more turns. I'm just going to be spamming a bunch of skill ones, trying to get myself stunned by a monkey or something. Okay, so just going to let it time out on the alt, which is the screen that you see over here. And let's just see. Well, it's going to be taking that whole time every time. So that's a first turn. As you can see, the bar is going as slow as it was going on the previous turn. Normally, your bar would be half, same thing as that you have in the draft if you let your draft run out. So that's a second turn. Let's see how many turns that would take. I'll probably speed this up a little bit for the video, otherwise you're waiting for that bar the whole time to go down. 3. Number 4. Fifth turn, I already lose. Okay, that definitely does kill autoing for sure. If you already lose in 5 turns, so 4 turns not taken, doing something, and then the 5th turn, still letting it run auto, that's where you already lose, which is definitely pretty quick. So that will 100% remove the autoing in RTA. And let me know in the comments if you guys are happy about it, because personally for me, when I played any of lower accounts, I was always like, any battle that I have to auto is pretty much a free win, because they just play it by the elements. They will always target something, you have a proper tank to it or something like that. But the big issue is that you mostly get super hard outshined by Rune quality. And by that, people disliked it. So let me know if because of this change, you might actually enjoy RTA in the lower ranks more. Because this is definitely an issue that I would say people around like Fighter 3 to C1 had most of it. Because that's why you see how most people autoing. And then you had like G3 or G2 people autoing with G2 or G3 Rune quality. Just playing their match on autoing and then still getting like 40 to 45% win rate. So that does mean a lot of people are just instantly losing matches by just getting super outshined on Rune quality. However, that's no longer the case, which I think is good for the game in the first place. However, I am also curious how much that will change for the amount of point gain that there normally is. So, because for every match that is played, more points will be added to the pool, especially at the lower ranks. The fewer points that are generated in lower ranks, the lower people will end up in higher ranks, because the higher rank people in the end have to steal the points from somewhere, so they have to be generated somewhere. And they're actually mostly generated in the lower ranks, because in the lower ranks you gain more points than you lose, and that just simply generates points to the pool. But that is something to absolutely check for next season. The next changes are on the 2v2. It's a little bit more complicated, but normally you had like each phase had like 30 seconds, but now you have a first pick, it's going to be 20. And the more time or the less time you use, the more time your ally will have to pick. I think it's something along those lines. To be honest, personally, I would have liked to see just a 20-second pick time all the time, because you don't need that much time to think about your stuff for 2v2s. Plus, most of the time, it is you can think while any of the others or your allies picking as well. So you have a lot more thinking time in general. And I definitely do think that the pick and ban phase in 2v2s was just really boring and really slow, and therefore I did not like it at all. But this might speed it up just a little bit, I would say. But still, it's not going to increase it by that much. Because you still have that, like, oh, you get extra, like if your opponent had like 20 seconds, then the following still has like 30 seconds left. So maybe it's for, like, it enables people's like, oh, if I pick faster right now, my other one has more time left over, and then you end up not using it at all, and everyone's picking fast. Could be a thing, would be a little bit nice, I would say. And they also have 2v2s open. I mostly just play the 2v2s just to simply get the achievements in, and then I call it a day, because to be honest, not a big fan of 2v2s. This is also a really weird one. They changed all of the names that they had like a specific name towards revolvers, fighters, conjurers, and hunters. Also, why the hell this whole Axis association, blah, blah, remove all this shit. Just call them like the fucking fighters, conjurers, hunters, and that kind of stuff, if you don't want to be putting actual names. Might you ask, why did they do this? For me, I think it is something related to most of the Asian servers actually calling everything out by family name and never by the real name. So, like, family name, like, let's say they just go for Jack, which is Fighter on Dark. I think, he's pretty sure he was the Dark one. So, yeah, they just went Fighter Dark, or they just go for a NFL, they just say Occult Gold Water, like those kind of things. So, for that reason, I guess that they went for easier names, but why the hell do they have 3 names? And actually, I would say, like, these names not that great, these names not that great. I think that these names, the Tetsuya and stuff, were pretty decent, and also those names were pretty decent. So I like those names more than I like these names. So let me know in the comments what you guys think about it. But it looks a little bit weird for me, especially with like these first 2 parts. Like, remove, like, if you want to be creative, remove that shit as well, because it just looks terrible. We have a few crafting things where you can craft magic boxes up to 10 at once. I'm not really sure if people are doing this in the first place. Wouldn't really recommend that, but sure, there is an option for that right now. They also changed the chat, and every chat has every language and then 500 channels in those chats. So I don't think you can no longer go to like chat 9,000 something whatever, but you can go to, like, let's say the Chinese chat and then number like 488 or something like that. So there's a little bit of like distinguishing in that. I think it's mainly useful for servers such as Asia and Europe, where they do have a lot more distinct languages by itself. But yeah, I guess it helps out. But it might be a little bit more difficult for people at the start to find one another once again, because, well, then again, you can now also do like a Thai 101, you can do a Vietnamese 101, you can do an Espanya 101. So there's a little bit more options for that. Then a bunch more packs, we don't care. And then a bunch of changes that they make in text. So that part is all not that interesting. So let's actually see this for the 101 that I did mention. Yeah, also, as you can see, the number currently at max is 500. So if we go to Thai, let's not bother other people. So let's go to the Thai one on 500. And then we can switch to the English one. We can also switch to the 500, which is going to be a different channel than the Thai one, which I sent the ZZZ in the first place. So you have a little bit of everything right there. Is that useful? I'm not sure, but definitely small things that could be pretty niche. Well, let's actually go over the skills of all of those new units just to check, like, how do they look like. So these are going to be the Tanjiros. Let's look at the skills. I did already quite quick preview the skills a little bit myself. They look very similar. Well, most of the time they do kind of look very similar. So this, I think he doesn't have like the throw kind of thing where he hits. Does look... it looks good. I like that one. Fire 1 third skill. Kind of like that one. This one is the one I saw where the third or the second skill is pretty much exact same animation with like the dance and stuff, but it's kind of fine in the end. They're kind of the same units anyway, so might already use what they have, because otherwise they just have to bolt something completely new. I'm not 100% sure if those are actually full on the same. I think that these are a little bit different. This one is pretty much the same. And this one, the third skill is different as well. Third skill is kind of... Animation is pretty long too. That was my downside on the Dark Tanjiro, that the animation for the third skill is pretty long, and you want to use it in mostly scenarios where you want to clear something semi-fast, like especially if you do want to do it on arena. So a long animation for anything that you use in the cleave and arena is kind of bad. That third skill, I think it's slightly bit faster, but it's still kind of on the slow side. Then we go for Nezuko's. Okay. that second hit, I think Nezuko hits a lot faster on the 1 and 2 over there. Okay, not too bad, not too bad. These skill icons look pretty much the same as the Nezuko's, I would say. But this is definitely one of those where I would say I kind of like Nezuko looks more than I like her looks. Her looks are not that crazy. See on the light one, yeah, not too bad, but also nothing crazy. Third skill, this is the most interesting one, I guess, for most people. Yeah, looks okay, looks okay. Then we have the Inosuke. I know, like, to be honest, isn't this dude just straight up from Bleach? Like, legit. Didn't they just go for the straight next collab? And they added, like, what's the name with the dual blader over there? Grimjo or something? It kind of gives Grimjo vibes. I could be wrong on that. I didn't really fully see Bleach at all, so... But, like, instead of getting Inosuke, now you get Grimjo. Like, he's kind of Grimjo, right? Like, I can't be wrong on that. So probably someone that actually does watch Bleach is going to be like, nah, not at all. But he gives a lot of Bleach vibes right there. That's you're not getting an Inosuke, you're getting a Bleach collab straight up. Well, he looks kind of dope, though. I kind of like this one. Maybe I'll even like this one more than Inosuke. Like, I don't really like the pig head thingy. I do like the skin of Inosuke where he doesn't use that. If I had any of the Inosuke's that I would use, would be that one. But to be honest, all Inosuke's, that's by far worst family. It's just the light one being pretty good in certain situations. But the others are really bad. We do have a balance patch coming soon, so maybe that will be a change for that. Then we just have to switch elements to check out the Zenitsu's. Well, this thing looks sad. Damn. Okay, this one compared to the Zenitsu's, I think the Zenitsu's look a lot better than this one. Yeah, this one, I don't know. Also, the blade. Does this really resemble, like, Iron Speed? Sure for the animations, but for the looks of the character itself, I think that this one looks the worst of the whole family. Let me know in the comments what you guys think about it. Maybe you guys have a different... Yeah, I don't know. It kind of feels off with, like, the weird elven eyes kind of thingy-ish. I don't know. They have such a, like, bored look. Like, especially on this one, you see it with the crit animation. They stand there, and it's where Zenitsu is really, like, he goes in the stance, and then he just, like, shoots off. It makes sense. But this one is just... no. This is the one I would say is kind of bad looking altogether. That's for sure. I would say the skill animation itself looks good, because it's pretty close to the Zenitsu as well. But it's just the character. The character looks really lame-ish. If they made the character a better model, it would have been a lot better, I would say. Then we still miss one, which is no, not that one. This guy, which is the free-to-play unit, because I'm pretty sure you can pick it up with ancient coins by now. Maybe not yet, but you should be at a later point. Pretty much same skill and pretty much same skill. I would say that the Gyome does do it a lot cooler than this one. Looks of this thing was kind of okay, but the Gyome is definitely looking cooler. So, yeah, that's all for the update. I think the next update, which will be in about 2 weeks from now, so let's say around 27th, 28th, or 29th of May, will be the balance patch, and that is the balance patch that they did mention in the development talk to be having more focus and more emphasis on. Also, it's the last one before SWC season starts, because after that, we're already in, like, SWC prelims the moment. At least, that's, I think, where SWC prelims will be in 2 months from now. So, at that point, I think that this is one that where they can still do something really big, because there's no Siege tournament, there is no RTA end of season, and there is no SWC. So, this is pretty much the last chance for a long time to do something big on changing on the balancing. Let me know in the comments what you guys would like to see in the balancing. Maybe I'll do a balance prediction video. I am also planning to do one more of those podcasts this month, which we're also talking about one of those balancing. So maybe some of the comments that you use, I will influence for that podcast as well. Guys, thanks a lot for watching, and hope to see you, as always, in the next one.
Thanks for watching. If you would like to see more guides, join the Discord and check out the content tab for the guide video archive, which contains all of the guides that you might need. Hope to see you there.